I think Dale's thirsty. She keeps carrying that water bottle around with her.
Just looking at her big muscles carrying that with ease.
It's right an official job. She just did that for your benefit. She wanted you to see
I do it every week.
doing the bottle.
My record is 4 jugs in 1
And
week.
she and I turned the bottle over together. Because it's actually hard.
Oh, you say?
Yep. There.
Ties to our theme of learning together, working
All
together.
right.
Makes the dream work.
And then I like to make a big deal about the fact that you do it together.
We got her.
If they can
Yeah,
hear.
they can hear us and we can
Okay.
hear them.
Okay.
I was gonna
Yay.
say, I wonder if they know we can hear them.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
We're trying this all together for the first time.
Hey, I may have been the culprit for why it was so hard to connect, because I realized it couldn't connect to mine downstairs.
Oh, that's why. So you disconnected yours?
Disconnected it.
All right.
We should probably mute until we want to actually talk.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh, our answer will.
That's why I'm asking you if you want me to tell you. What do you don't want?
Alan, super good branding, dude.
Yeah, he's the best backstop
Was that
ever.
like intentional? Like that's amazing.
And he's in his living room, Patty. He's not even at work.
Very committed.
Okay. Oh, there you are, Karen. You're on my second page. I wasn't sure if you were here yet. It's hiding on the back page.
Yeah, I kind of snuck in. Sorry, had my head in
All
something.
right. All right. It's because everybody all settled. I see some people still getting settled into their seats. Maybe give you like another quick minute and we can get going because this half hour seems to go by so quick all the time. So I want to make sure we jump right in. So, all right. I think we're good. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining again. This is our third session on learning together. It's our the thing we're trying to do throughout the year. Give us some time to come together and learn and share stories. And I think the best part about this for me so far has been hearing stories from what you guys are all doing. So as we go through this half hour quickly, we do have some stuff we want to share, but we also want to hear from you. So if you hear a little silence along the way, it's not that we ran out of things to say. We just really want to hear from you guys. So, and and we'll go from there. So me and Karen have been hosting these so far, And this one is actually going to be getting a little more help from Adam out in Hamilton and Mark in Lake Country. So we're going to keep talking about coaching today, but we're really going to talk about the power of participation. And we want to talk about why participation is so important and central to the work we do at Connect. We want to talk about why social capital is important and really be open to dialogue. So if you're comfortable, reach out and ask some questions, raise your hand, and we'll call on you. If that's not your thing, leave a question in the chat. If you want to share a story, you can share it in the chat, but really open to hearing some feedback so we can all learn together, because we know that, especially when it comes to participating and the power of participation and why it's so important to us, no one has more examples and more experience in that than our life redesign coaches. So let's kick it off there. I just want to give you a little brief introduction to social capital and why that's important. And I won't take up too much of this time, so we really want to get into the meat of it. Social capital is really simple. It's that idea that the social relationships in your life bring benefit to you and bring value to you. The same way money has value to you, your health brings value to you, your social capital also brings value to your life. So it's a really simple process, and the really easy way to think about it is to think about your life right now. So take a moment and think about the people that you're connected to in your life, who you love, who you spend time with, who you trust, who you go to for advice or go to for help, the people that come to you for help, and then how you met all those people and how you interact when you're out in the community. And that's really the potent value of social capital and the importance it brings in our life. Because the reality is that social capital is probably the most significant determination of your overall health and well-being. The more social capital you have in your life, the happier you are, the healthier you are, and the longer you're going to live. And we can do a whole day on social capital, and these are scientifically proven facts. The more people you know and the more you're connected in healthier relationships, the better your life is going to be. And that's why it's so important for us at Connect to be out in the community, supporting people to build connections to their community, maintain relationships with their family and friends, because we know overall it's going to make them happier, healthier, and they're going to have better outcomes in their life. And I said, we can do this all day with social capital. I love talking about it. It's one of my favorite topics, but I really want to get into that power of participation. So I'm going to turn it over to Adam and to Mark to talk about that.
Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, really cool, good recap of social capital there. You know, when I looked at this coaching topics, I think of, you know, all of the ideas and things that we're adding to our toolbox, our life redesign toolbox, who we are as people. If anyone could just thumbs up, heart, send some emojis. Anyone ever heard of the participate to learn model? Just looking, even hands up if you have. It's okay if you haven't. I'm just looking to see. We got one there. I see a heart. I'm only seeing one screen. Okay, we got a few thumbs up, a few hands up. That's great. Yeah, in the boardroom there. So, you know, the participate to learn model was a project in Ontario that really provided recommendations for the best ways to support people after brain injury and to participate in the things that they love and, most importantly, find meaningful. Lisa's going to share this article with everyone in the chat a little bit later on, so you'll be able to kind of dig into it more. I don't want to do all the talking today, and Mark and I looked to pull some examples from people a little bit later on. We've been talking about being a coach and coaching the people that we support in the last few Learning Together gatherings. And, you know, when I reflect on being a coach, I think one of the best parts of our job is just supporting people to get back to the things that they enjoy. You know, there's two schools of thought on how to best do this and how to support people in participating. The first is a traditional method that's called learning to participate. And this simply means that the focus is on first identifying all the challenges to participation, and once you've identified those challenges, you start to reduce the impairments and limitations. Then we go out and participate. So an example of this would be, before we go kayaking, we need to first focus on all that's challenging someone, such as like range of motion, balance, before we even think about hopping in a kayak. The second school of thought is participating to learn. And this method really focuses on supported participation in meaningful activities, which are chosen by the people that we are supporting, with the view that this is the best way to reduce impairments and limitations or all that's challenging the person. So in other words, the best way to get someone back into something they love, like kayaking, is to jump right back into that kayak. So basically, participate to learn focuses on participating as the way that people learn, as opposed to learning first, then participating. This also kind of reinforces Connect's belief that meaningful participation is one of the most powerful environments for people's growth and a great way to build skills, confidence, and independence. Neuroplasticity, we've all heard of that. It supports this by engaging the brain to keep it going with less idle time. And in those idle time moments, this is where coaching and the techniques and all of that we've learned recently really helps to support the person to participate. So the key takeaway here is that learning through participation is the way to go, rather than waiting until somebody is ready to participate. An important kind of key point of the participate to learn model is to focus on roles that people play in their lives. So, when we think about roles, what are some roles that people have in their lives or that are important to people? You can shout them out, throw them in the chat. What are roles? What are people's roles? What's important roles that people have? What are roles that are important to people? When I think about roles, yeah, shout it out.
No, sorry, we put this in the chat as well, but being a family figure, parenthood, or a grandparent, being able to watch their grandchildren, or being able to work, being the breadwinner and losing that.
Yeah, totally. Shout them out. Other ones? Roles. I'm seeing orchestra members. Being a part of a band or an orchestra member. Yeah, that's a really cool one. I think a roles go ahead.
Being able to bake or cook for someone.
Yeah, maybe a chef. Yep. Baking, cooking.
I put in the chat, being a sister, a partner, a friend.
Yeah, these are all important roles. I'm a coach, a father, a pet owner. When we look at these roles can be a really important aspect of supporting people. If a person that we support was a father or coached their child in baseball, they may find more purpose and meaning in goals that have a focus on getting back to being a father and or a coach. One way to look at this is, roles can be goals. So these roles that we talked about and that we identified earlier, those can be goals that we're working towards. And that's kind of a cool, easy statement to think about. Roles can be goals. So this participate to learn model, just to summarize it, is, we learn through participation. That kayak example, there's a lot that goes into kayaking, but jumping back into that kayak provides the opportunity and the environment for someone to get back and learn what kayaking is right now. It's a really long process. If we think about, before we get in the kayak, we've got to get the balance right. We've got to have all these things in place. And, it could be a little fearful, and, you may be fearful to jump right back in that kayak because what does it look like? And what's it going to be when we jump back in that kayak? So there's a ton of examples that I'm sure that are out there. And now that you've heard this participate to learn model, I'm sure you're all thinking, like, we do this. Mark, you had some really cool examples when we were talking about this, and I'd love to hear and for you to share some of those examples with everyone.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll admit I had only recently heard of the participate to learn that Adam's talking about here. I read the article and immediately connected with it because I think it is something that we do instinctively at Connect, and it's a part of who we are. It's a part of our culture. Yeah, one of the examples that I guess I had shared years ago with Adam has always stuck out in my mind. it was a woman who, she was a farmer. She lived on a farm, or owned horses. And that was a big part of her identity, right? So going back to that roles as goals, a big part of her identity was being a farmer and taking care of these horses that she loved so much. And so initially it was kind of like, well, how do we do this? She had quite a few, physical challenges that would prevent her from even living on a farm, let alone taking care of horses and riding them. So I think thinking back, I think she started small. I think she maybe even did some trips home. She started taking care of them, brushing their hair, feeding them, that sort of thing. And eventually she wanted to ride a horse. So, we as a team sat around thinking, like, well, how do we do this? Where do we even start? Because I think one of the things that we want people to sort of think about and identify is that your first thought is always like, well, how, we can't do that. What about the risks? What about, the barriers? How is it's not possible. But those barriers can, really become problems to solve rather than actual barriers to participation. So it was Ray, who's I think here, I think I saw him somewhere, our home resource coach, who initially sort of thought, well, we've got this dryer, or I think it was a washing machine drum, which is something you may know, like a round thing. It's a little bit off. It's not quite stable. So what we did was we got her to bring one of her saddles in, put the saddle on the dryer drum or the washer drum, and she would practice balancing on it every day. The B2 team, I don't know if the B2, anyone from B2 is here, but I spoke with them about this and they kind of remember doing that. And eventually she got quite good at that, and closer to move out, she was able to go home and start practicing riding on her horses back on her farm. And so unfortunately I wasn't able to get an update for how she's doing these days, but just I think a really cool example of how something could initially seem impossible, but with a little bit of creativity, a little bit of teamwork, we were able to sort of figure out how to do that and how to get her back, so that she could re-establish that identity and that role of I don't know what you call that, horse caregiver, farmer, or whatever, right? So yeah.
I'm wondering if Jessica has an update for you, Mark. Like her hands up in the
the hands up, yeah,
Lake Country, yeah.
We don't have an update. We just have another example, but Mark,
perfect.
Here.
Yeah, no, let's I'd love to hear it.
We were just talking about a resident that we used to have. It was really important to him and to his girlfriend, wife at the time, that he got back into parenthood and being an active father and caring for his kids. He lost the use of one of his arms. I can't remember what arm. And like getting his kids into the car seat was one of those roles that he needed to be able to take on. So a bunch of us who had kids brought our car seats in, and we were just trying to remember what he was putting in the car seat, if it was our kids or if we brought some bears or something in. But that was a strategy that he had to practice, that, was just a resource that we had almost ourselves as staff that we brought in. And he cares for his kids now. Actually, I hear he posts quite a bit of, he's not with his girlfriend, so he's a single parent now, actually, and cares for his kids and drives some places, and yeah.
Love it. Again, does anyone else have any examples from some of the other sites? Just curious.
Yeah, Amanda.
Yay. I know one thing I hear a lot is people say that they can't learn to cook or they can't dress themselves until they have like use of their hand again or use of their arm. And that's always something I challenge people. Well, no, we can start doing this right away, right? And there's different ways we can problem solve through this, different tools we can try, and just get people involved in those daily living skills like right off the bat. And then just what I was going to share, it's not really necessarily a role, but or I don't know what the title of the role would be, but one of the things that I really enjoy doing with people here as a kind of first functional thing to do in standing is using the coffee, 1-cup coffee machines or the Keurigs. It's like a great task for someone to stand up and use like while they're balanced, set up the cup and get the pod in, press the buttons, and then stand there for the little bit of time that it goes through. And sometimes that's been something that people are making their own coffee, or it's been making coffee for a family member or something like that. And at first they might need more kind of guidance and assistance in moving their hand where it needs to go, and assistance in standing. But as we practice a little bit more, then they're not needing as much assistance with those things.
Yeah, two super good examples like that. That is the participate to learn model right there. You know, Amanda and then Heather could have, you know, let's practice at a table. Let's pick up pods first. Let's work on balance first. And no, like, let's learn by doing it. So, you know, I love the Ray example and Mark gave, like, it's just such a let's just figure it out, right? So other examples, participate to learn. You guys you're feeling it, you're hearing it. We got a hand up. Yeah.
And, oh, sorry.
We're muted. Now you're good.
That kind of going off the coffee example is that, you know, if you're going out for coffee, just because somebody wants to go with a friend for coffee and they just want to be able to go out, is at first it might be too hard for somebody to order their own coffee and a donut. But bit by bit, you know, by kind of changing how much support somebody needs, you can still go out for coffee and a donut, and bit by bit be able to change who's ordering how much of what. And it's learning how to order the coffee and donut at Tim Hortons, not necessarily having to practice those key words in a room ahead of time. So that was kind of coffee at home, coffee out.
Yeah, cool. Great examples in that room there. Yeah, Michael, you got your hand up there. Who's speaking over there? Something cool example.
Here, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, he came to us, and he's from the interior, and you know, he was busy with his family, but his passion before was, you know, he builds computers, and you know, us talking about computers and you know, the knowledge about, oh yeah, I can go back and maybe I can build one for myself, or I can build one for my niece. So he started doing that 2 years ago, and now he built this awesome computer that is so good. It's like top class, and you know, he built it on his own, but by going back to his passion of doing this before he got married, you know, it all came back to him. He ordered all the parts online, he got all the parts and built it on his own.
Yeah, and I'm sure these examples, like, you know, Mike, what did you see in his face and the words that he said as he was doing this? Like, you know, what's the feeling when you see this?
Oh my God, it's so awesome because everything's coming back, and you could see on his face, oh yeah, that one's obsolete now. I can get this new part, and this new video card, and this new water cooled system. You know, we started from um, um, getting a Mac converted to a PC, you know, that kind of thing. So he was inspired by that. It didn't go well because the case that he ordered, the company closed, but that didn't bother him. He just moved on to making a different computer and a water cooled. You know, you could see his face light up.
Yeah, it's a true example of the learning while you're participating and creating that environment for it. Yeah, Kim, you got something down there?
Yeah, so I think maybe not everybody knows, but in Lake Country, we have a unique thing where we own the property next door that has a full house on it. And so we get to have some of our residents trial living independently there.
which is really cool because it allows them to like take the garbage out to the curb and clean the space and get their own groceries. So I think that's something pretty unique that we get to see pretty regularly here.
Yeah, great
Another
example.
thing we do often actually is if someone's feeling more ready for move out, the little house is maybe occupied, is they'll go home for a home visit too and be like an active family member and try all those roles and maybe preparing some meals while their loved ones at work, and then come back and tell us how it went and maybe what do we still need to learn, and kind of remove ourselves a little bit and put them back in their own environment is super helpful.
Yeah, good. So
Yeah, I was interested in sharing my share of experience. I was working with one of the resident. He was a boxer. That was his hobby and was a profession for a while. So during our treatment session, we had a conversation. He was mentioning about his passion to boxing and how he was enjoying it. So I transferred the session into a boxing, so where he was able to, where I initiated him to punch a pillow. So imagining that would be a boxing ring. It was fascinating to see. He was like, he had left-sided affected, but he came out, he was supposed to punch with his right, but when he was trying, his left hand came in and punched. And that was, I don't know, there's no words to express because he was super happy about it. At the beginning of his life redesign model, his discharge destiny was to go to Hero or a long-term care. But that very moment encouraged him to do more. And from that very day, he was a completely different person. He started to punch the pillows, and he now moved out of Connect, but into a independent apartment. He's quite independent, and he came in a wheelchair. He walked out with a cane, and he was able to cook. While he was in Connect, he started cooking for his housemates, and it was an amazing transformation. But as Adam was mentioning, participation, whether they are ready or not, just giving the opportunity was transforming their lives. So I wanted to share this moment with you.
Wow, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great.
So in keeping with what I just shared, in Hamilton, we have once a month what we call the Breakfast Club. And tomorrow we actually have everybody coming to B1 because we have a home that is empty right now. And everybody is invited to this breakfast. We have the Sarah Steady there, so it is always like so heartwarming to see somebody using a Sarah Steady to, flip pancakes. Like the whole team is there and everybody is just participating to the best of their ability. And sometimes you have the residents actually cheering each other on. We have music going on, people are dancing. So those are some of the opportunities that we can just present where they actually end up encouraging each other. And we are sort of like just on the sidelines, just providing the environment where all of this can happen.
yeah, great example.
Wow.
Anybody know the easiest word to say?
One more hand, Adam. Well, Michael
one more
and
hand.
Langley
Yeah,
again.
go. Yeah,
Or
yeah.
someone from the Langley group over there. Yeah.
Juliet.
I just wanted to throw, I know we all know this, but it's a good reminder for anyone who's new. It's just remembering that that a lot of the folks that are coming here have been really institutionalized and become very passive, like taught, conditioned to be very passive. So it's a huge part of our role as soon as someone comes in the door to see what they can do and presume competency and go from there instead of we'll work up to you like being part of making your meals, or we'll work up to you like participating in doing your laundry. But if whatever they can do, that's what we want to support. And I know it sounds really basic, but it's just a really good reminder that's how you get to these things, is just start from the beginning. It just moves so much more quickly.
Yeah, great example, Juliet. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll jump back in. I think so far this has been my favorite one, mostly because I didn't have to do all the talking and I could see all the great things happening around Connect. But Patty just left a great question in the comment, and it's how is this all connected to social capital? And I think for me, from all these examples that we've heard, like the one constant is that anything that we're doing with people, it's connected to a passion that they have in life. It's something that's really meaningful and important to them, and that's why they end up pursuing it and being successful. And if we think of our own lives and the passions and the interests that we have, now think about all the people you're connected to in your life because of that. Like I know I grew up playing sports. I know Adam's a coach. Even people with young kids as parents, and you go to like a parent group, you end up, whatever you're doing socially in your community, you connect to other people. So as we support people to follow their passions and to follow their interests, we branch out into the community to find groups in the community where people can connect around other people who share those passions and those interests. And a lot of the things we're talking about are also connected to the roles people have in their life. And those roles help them connect back to their family and help give them value again. And I know all the roles I've heard, I wrote a bunch of examples down as you guys were talking, but roles around being a parent, being a grandparent, being the caregiver, like those are all important roles for people in their life. And often when they come and live with us, they're not able to fulfill that role as much anymore. So the more we can help them get back to doing that, the more that brings value to them as a person and helps them fulfill that role again. I know you've probably all heard the story of a lady in Hamilton, Rosa, and she just wanted to cook dinner for her family again. And when she was at Connect, she learned how to do that. But that was her role in her family, was to cook Sunday dinner. And she wanted to fulfill that role. So I think that when you think about how social capital brings this all together, is that the more we can fill roles and participate in being a part of our community, the more we build our social capital. And it's better for everybody. Carly, that's a really long comment. I think you're going to have to say it to us instead. I'm not going to read it.
I remember this.
Oh, I printed it out. I was just going to be a silent contributor. We took a
Not
bunch of
anymore.
people ice fishing once. And this man was from Saskatchewan. They have long winters, not a lot to do, pretty gray, and ice fishing was a big part of his life. Didn't know how it was going to go, but loaded a bunch of people up, had a great time, had Timmy's and hot chocolate and a fire out on the ice, and he got his first fish on, only had one hand and just started kicking backwards in his wheelchair and dragged that sucker up onto the ice. And from that moment, suddenly his family and his social network felt like it was safe to take him to those with them.
Awesome. Thanks. All right. Any last comments or questions? We're right at 1:59 now. That went by so quick.
Why is it so short? There's so much to talk about, I guess. This was so fun. Like so fun to hear this, and I love the connection back to social capital. And like Jamie, I could talk about it like crazy, but it's just a really, really easy way. And it's not easy. I understand that, but it's a natural way to get people connected to people who love some of the things they love. That helps them build natural relationships. Yeah, amazing work, you guys. I love it.
Yeah, and I'll wrap up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Adam. And
I just wanted to say what my takeaway was today is, hearing all these examples today, these examples didn't start with why something might not work. It started with how do we make this work, and including the people, the people that we support in it. So, thank you for sharing these examples today.
Yeah, and Mark added a comment. It's like, now how do we connect it all back to coaching as well? So this was our third session on coaching. I believe, Lissa, we're going to send out a little evaluation and to see how the first 3 sessions went and what everybody thought. But coaching will be a theme that will stretch throughout all the sessions that we do throughout the year. But the way it really plays into coaching is it goes right back to our doing with and not for approach. Like, someone has a passion, someone has an interest. How do we help them find a way to express that or participate in that and do it? And then encourage them along the way and leave room for possibility. Like, we never know what's going to happen. I think we could all tell a story about someone we met through Connect who was told they weren't going to be able to do something, and then they went and proved everybody wrong. And that's in large part to the support and encouragement from all of our coaches along the way. And that's really like how coaching comes in. But we'll keep that conversation going throughout the year. All right. And that's it. Thank you guys so much. This was awesome. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for all participating. I loved hearing all the stories, and I look forward to doing it again next month. Thank you so much.
Everyone.
That's